Hey guys, my name is Heather Lindsay.
And my name is Cornelius Lindsay.
And I'm so excited that you landed on Life with the Lindseys.
This is so exciting. This gives us an opportunity to share our life with yours.
Yes, we're going to be talking about everything from entrepreneurship to ministry to your purpose to why you are here, family, parenting, relationships, marriage, sex, you name it. We are talking about it.
So thank you so much for joining us today with Life with the Lindseys. Enjoy it. Hey, this is Cornelius Lindsay.
Hey, y'all. This is Heather Lindsay.
and welcome to Life with the Lindseys, man. We're so excited. I hope you had an opportunity to listen to our first episode. Man, we explained ourselves, kind of introduced ourselves, but we're going to talk marriage this time.
Come on, marriage? Yes.
This will be really fun.
And I'm excited. So the title of today's podcast is Married and Unsatisfied.
Come on. Who gets unsatisfied in marriage? I mean, nobody ever does.
I know, because our marriage is like perfect and everybody thinks because we have happy Instagram photos that we never have any conflict.
Yeah, people actually think that. They're like, oh my God, I wish I could have a marriage like yours. Like, dude,
child, you don't want this.
You would not want me. Trust me when I tell you that you would return me tomorrow.
Back to the sender?
You would definitely return me back to sender. You're definitely an amazing woman that you have actually kept up with me this long. Or actually, yeah, is that right? Kept up with me? You kept me. Whatever.
I kept you? Is that right?
I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, marriage is crazy. But we've been married. You want to kind of tell them how long we've been married and all that kind of stuff? Because maybe you remember. I don't think I do.
Yes, you remember. We've been married for 9 years. Next year is our 10-year anniversary. And I'm planning this whole wedding renewal. It's an I Still Do renewal in Phuket, Thailand. And I cannot wait to go.
I can't wait to go either because I was very involved in our first wedding. And I plan on being heavily involved in this one as well.
Why are you like this? Like, you're not supposed to see my dress.
I am going to see your dress. I will be there when you buy it.
You don't want to see the dress. You want to see how much the dress costs.
That is absolutely accurate. But I've seen everything else. So why would I not see the dress? I mean, it's not like it's a surprise. I'm not being surprised on our renewal. It's not. I mean, you know what? I've seen it all. So what? But
you haven't seen me in this dress in my hair.
I will see you in the dress when you buy it or when you try it on. When you say yes to the dress, I will see you in the dress.
If I don't see a tear rolling down your face when I walk down that aisle for the second time, I'm going to throw you all the way away.
Unless it's just extremely hot or something happened, you probably won't see a tear. So when we got married, I actually did not. I did not cry on our wedding day.
At all.
And my wife was like, like, why didn't you not cry? And because I saw it completely different than how you did. Like my wife and I, we're completely night and day. We're completely different. Like, how did you see the wedding? Like, what was going through your mind on our wedding day?
That we get to kiss and finally have sex.
Okay. So was that it? Like legit?
Well, I mean, obviously I was excited. I love you. And I felt like I knew you so well emotionally, but I didn't know you physically. So I just wanted to have a lot of sex.
Well, good. I'm happy to know that in our marriage, I'm just a sex symbol.
Babe, really? Do you feel used right now?
I feel so used right now. I feel used for my body. But that's a good thing. I felt responsibility. I was like, I can't take her back. I'm responsible for her for the rest of my life. Like, this is a big deal. Like, when you came down the aisle, people were like, are you going to cry? Are you going to cry? People like after the wedding, they're like, Cornelius, I was looking at you to see if you're going to cry. And I'm like, cry? I got to be responsible. Like, I got to get this woman a house and like, we got to live together. And like, that was a lot of anxiety. I really wasn't sure if I was ready for all of that.
I was thinking like sleepovers every night. We get to be together.
Sleepovers.
Like, we get to be besties for the resties. Like,
besties.
I was in this like fantasy of what I thought marriage was going to be. I thought we were just going to skip off in the wind and be happy together forever and never argue. Like, I didn't see my parents ever fight or argue.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that my marriage was going to be like my parents. You know what I mean? Like, we're just happy all the time.
Remember when we first got married, we used to always get an argument and I would tell you that life is not rainbows and sunshine, that you live in a happy bubble and I'm going to burst your bubble.
And I said, you're crazy. You are delusional and you read way too many power books and you need to go sit down somewhere.
I mean, we are night and day. Like she is day, I am night. And that's just how it is, how it goes. But yeah, we just had completely like different perspectives when it came to marriage. I mean, I was also thinking the entire wedding day, I was thinking like, this is expensive. Literally we threw a big party for everybody else because I don't remember half of it. It was 5 hours of everybody else complaining about what we paid for.
Isn't that crazy?
And I didn't even get a chance to eat any of my doggone cake. And I'm still a little pissed about that.
It's like 10 years later, you're still feeling that.
Absolutely, I am. So anytime I go to somebody's wedding, if I have to officiate their wedding, then I want to eat their cake. That's part of my requirement.
I love that.
I want to eat their cake.
So I had an idea of when we got married that I was just going to be so happy because when I saw other people's marriages, it just seemed like everybody was happy. Like people are smiling in their photos on social media. They're so in love. So I had this false image of what marriage looked like.
Yeah.
And I just thought that means I was going to be so happy. And I quickly realized within the first month or two that I am unsatisfied in my marriage and I am not happy. And what did I get myself into? And we would get in so many fights and we had our good times, don't get me wrong, but we had a lot of conflict. And I realized that, I had to give my marriage a chance to develop. I was putting pressure on you to be something that you had not matured to or grown into. Same here. I was doing the same thing to you. We're putting a lot of pressure on each other the first couple of years of our marriage. And I think that we just had to go through those hard tests and trials to come back on the other side so we can grow and mature.
I mean, I really think that, even before we got married, we had a lot of pressure on us. I think anybody who gets married, even nowadays, there's so many pressures. Everybody's asking, when are you getting married? How are you getting married? And then when you get married, it's like, how many kids? When are you going to have a kid? And then when you have a kid, it's like, when are you having another kid? It's like, can I push the first one out first? Help me with daycare with the first one.
Get out of my womb.
It's like, there's a lot of pressure that's placed on people. And then nowadays, even in social media world, and I hate this with a passion. It's like everybody we just have these rules. Like if you don't marry somebody who does this and don't marry somebody who's like this and don't do this and this person is the one, then we ask the question, is this person the one? Is this person not the one? There's so many different pressures out there and people just can't be simple about it. It's like, you know what? We're two people. We're imperfect and our marriage is going to be imperfect. It's not going to be perfect. And you know what? We're going to make mistakes. We're going to do some stuff. We're going to do some things wrong. But if we can employ 3 top things in a marriage, we've always said this, you can employ 3 top things in a marriage and your marriage will be fine. And that's unconditional love, grace, and mercy. Before we got married, we did all the premarital crap.
We sure did.
We did
6 months of that crap.
All that crap. We did all the, it's not, whatever.
It's not crap.
Whatever. It's our show. Crap. It's crap. I call it crap. We did the premarital stuff. We did, remember we would listen to sermons on marriage. We read books on marriage.
Oh, I was ready.
But the crazy thing is we got married and we quickly realized that neither one of us were in the books. Because I'm like, this woman is not in the books. She's absolutely crazy. When I would come home from work.
I'm crazy.
When I would come home from work, and you work from home. You can validate this.
Yes.
You work from home. I walk in the door and you would have a sign and you would say, I'm so happy to see you when you come home. Now, to some people, they're like, wow, I would really want that. Me, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you bombarding me at the door?
With my sign.
Let me have quiet time. Yes.
I was like, first of all, I made your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've been here thinking about you this whole entire time.
You did.
And you walk through the door and you're not happy to see me and I'm looking good, smelling good. I have a dress on.
Well, it was in the beginning. Remember, we had to get there.
No. In the beginning, I had a dress on and then you told me to stop being crazy when you walk through the door. So I said, okay, so you just need a little bit of space. You go take your space. But then maybe 6 months in, I was like, oh, forget it. I had my hair wrap on, my yoga pants on, and a tank top when you walked in the door. Yes. And then you said, babe, are you gonna get dressed for the day? It's 5:00. I ain't getting dressed for the day. That boat has passed. And so then you said, it's important to me that when I come home,
that you're dressed.
You're dressed. So I said, oh, what do you want?
No. But it was completely different things. Yes, I want you dressed, but no, I don't want you to bombard me. So we had that conversation. We sat down.
Yeah.
And I think that marriage, the journey of marriage is a it's a series of very difficult conversations.
Absolutely.
And we had one of our first difficult conversations where you were like, I feel unwanted because when I walk in, you don't want to talk to me. And I'm like, it's not that I don't want to talk to you. It's the fact that I've been talking to everybody else all day long. It's not that I don't want to hear how your day was. It's just that when I ask you, I know it's going to be a story. Like you're going to give me details. When I say, hey, how was your day? And you say, hey, I went to the grocery store. You never guess who I saw there. And I was going there for bread, but I found eggs, and you would never believe who called me. And like, you're going to give me details. Yeah. Whereas, when you ask me, how was your day? My one response was long. And you were like, well, explain it to me. I'm like,
who did you see? Who'd you talk to? What'd you wear?
None of that mattered.
Tell me everything. I need every detail.
I have it on right now. You don't need any details. Like that's it. It was long. It was stressful. The people were talking, and that was it. And I had to listen to a bunch of people I didn't want to listen to. I had to sit next to people I didn't want to talk to. And I had to smile to people who I don't really care anything about.
And that would be frustrating to me because I was like, I want to see into your heart. Because for me, intimacy is you opening up and communicating to me.
Absolutely.
And so I would get frustrated. But then I realized it's okay for us to have differences. And
absolutely.
That's what I think we should talk about next. What do you think?
Yeah. I would absolutely love that. Like, really would possibly love that. Possibly. But hey, so up next, we're going to talk about changing your spouse. This should be fun.
Okay, so we talked about our differences. So I think for me, it's been hard because I tried to change you for a great portion of our marriage, at least the first 6 years. Can we keep it real? About 6 years, I would say.
Yeah, you did. You definitely did try to change.
And you probably still think I try to change you.
Absolutely.
In some ways.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
It's current? Is current? You smiling over there. I just want to know if it's current. We have some issues. Do we have some problems that we need to talk about?
No, I'm not.
Off air.
What? No. Oh, goodness gracious. That sounds threatening. So I'm not going to answer that. I think that both of us are a work in progress. And I at one point in our marriage, I felt like, maybe we need to look at changing each other. But that was a very short time period of our marriage because I realized how jacked up I was. I was like, I don't think I really want to go into this thinking I need to change her because I don't want to change you. I just think that you learn how to really understand each other's differences, and then you learn how to coexist together. Because no marriage, in my opinion, really looks the same. Everybody's different, and we can coexist with our differences.
I think for me, I had an idea of what I wanted in a husband.
And could you please talk about that? Because praise the Lord.
So I wanted my husband to be a leader and to be strong, and you're those things.
Check.
But I realized that men that are leaders and strong and are very strong are usually not super in tune with their feelings and emotions.
Checkmate.
So I had an expectation that you are going to be a leader and you're going to be strong. And at the same exact time, be, in touch with your feelings and affectionate and loving and romantic and planning trips.
Oh my God.
And it's exactly.
I'm getting high as thinking about doing those things.
Okay, first of all, you know how to plan a trip because you do with the guys' trips. So don't get me started. It's not that you don't know how to do it. It's just you're not. Okay, that's another. But what I learned is that, okay, if my husband is really great at these different things, how can I focus on the things that he's good at versus focusing on the things that I want him to do? For example, I want you to plan more trips. But then the Holy Spirit told me one day, Heather, I gave you that gift.
Yes.
I did not give it to your husband.
Come on.
So why do you want your husband to do something that you are great at?
Come on.
I gave you the gift. So I don't even fuss anymore about family trips. I just plan them, don't I?
Yes, you do.
And I don't even ask. You don't even know where we're going half the time, what hotel we're staying in.
That's true.
You know nothing. You're like, wait, where are we going again? At the airport.
That's accurate.
But the thing is, I know that's
find out
my
at the
strength.
airport, though, which is or the night before, because I have to know how to pack for the trip.
Exactly.
And I'm like, oh, great, we're going to Hawaii. This is amazing. So I probably take these jackets out of my suitcase.
There you go. Like, babe, what's the weather?
Yes.
And usually I send you the weather beforehand. But what I would do is I was focusing so much on what I felt like you should do that I was not focusing on what you're doing well in our marriage. So instead of focusing on everything that pisses me off, instead I step back and I say, all right, you know what? My husband's a great leader. He's a great protector. He loves us. He comes home every single day by a certain time. He's present and active with our family. So when I begin to focus on what you're good at, I stopped focusing on what I felt like you needed to work on. And that's what helped me with understanding our differences and saying, okay, my husband's not me. And I had an expectation that I wanted you to be like me and think like me. But instead, I'm like, all right, Lord, who did you create my husband to be? I want him to be that man. I don't want him to be the idea that I came up with in my head.
Yeah. And you know, in my head, you know, with marriage, I actually thought my thing of marriage, you know, we all have this list, you know, in our head of who we're going to marry, what this person is going to look like. And my thing was that I like we talk about this a lot. You weren't necessarily my list. You weren't on my list. As beautiful as you are, as great as you are, you weren't on my list. I wanted this down south country girl. Like I was born in Mississippi, so I wanted this like Mississippi girl. You know, it's just I don't care. She's from the South, whatever. I wanted her to know. Like a big requirement was like, can you fry chicken and make collard greens and you know hot water cornbread on a Tuesday, not on a Sunday, on a Tuesday, because that's life. And I meet this woman, and you're born in Michigan. Yeah. You lived in New York City. When I met you, one of the first things you said was, how's your eating? You said you told me, I remembered your exact words, your eating is trash. That's what you said.
It is.
And then,
it was trash.
And then you proceeded to say, you know what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to get you some snacks. So you started getting me snacks. I remember one of the first snacks you brought me was this combination of cranberries and cashews, in which I replied, I don't know if I say this to your face or not, but I remember saying this was, I'm not a bird. Like, why are you giving me snacks? Yeah. I want like chips. I wanted Funyuns. I wanted, you know, what I thought would be good for me, hot Cheetos. And here you go, you're giving me, you know, apples and cashew butter, which I didn't even know that cashews made butter. Like that was the craziest thing in the world.
You're welcome.
But, you know, you introduced me to a whole new side of health that I'd never known before. But I had this idea of marriage, that marriage is just going to be cool. You just kind of exist. And I love you, you love me, you get out of my way, I get out of your way, and we just live. And whatever, who cares? Move on. You don't like it. Tough cookies. That's it.
But is that a reality though, babe?
It's not. It's not. But see, but that's what I'm saying. In my head, I had an idea of what marriage is going to be. It's not a reality. You had an idea of what marriage is supposed to be, and it was like in my head, it's like that's not even real. Yeah, it's not even real to even think that is a reality. That was.
So how did you overcome that mindset?
Well, I think marriage helped me to overcome it, because a lot of it was like, I had no other choice but to overcome it. It's like you have to learn how to coexist. You have to learn how to live together. And the more I would even give in to try to change you, it's like the more resistant you become. And every time you try to change me, the more resistant I became. I'm like, I'm not going to change for you. It's almost like, who are you? I'm not going to change for you. So that was very big.
And if you did change, because there's times that I remember you would change and do things just to shut me up.
Just to shut you up.
And I remember the Holy Spirit telling I actually remember the Holy Spirit telling me, he's like, do you want him to change because of you, or do you want him to change because of me? And that encouraged me, because I realized if you change, you're just doing it to shut me up, and it's temporary. So I'm not going to see the change that I want.
And I was miserable in trying to change to please you. Yeah. I was so miserable, because I'm like, you know what? This woman, she just wants me to change just to please her. I mean, you know, you've been a vegan for how long?
9 years.
9 years. So I was a vegan for what? 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, until I went to Nigeria and, you know, found my roots and found life again. And thank you to all my Nigerians out there for believing in me and for praying for me. I am now back to the life of a carnivore. But I will say this, I am vegan plus. I am #vegan plus, which means that I am strictly vegan. Yet I do eat chicken and bison and beef and pork and everything else. So I am vegan plus a lot of other things, including meat. So I'm strictly vegan plus some other stuff. So don't think I'm not vegan. I am just vegan plus. But you being vegan, it's like, even in that, at the early stages, it was like, you know, maybe, you know, you shouldn't be eating this, you shouldn't be eating meat, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, you know, that's not me. I don't really have the same conviction about it that you do. I have friends who are vegan, and they are, you know, staunch vegans. They're like, you know, I don't buy leather because they're vegans. I'm like, hey, that's cool for you. But for me,
So people can go throughout the Bible and just say, you know, well, the Bible says that Adam named the animals. He didn't eat them.
Oh, God.
They could go throughout scripture, and people always ask me, Heather, are you don't eat meat because of a biblical conviction. I feel convicted not to eat meat, and I'm not saying that it's a law. So let me just put that out there. But for a while, I'd get really frustrated with my husband and his eating habits. So I would make all of his meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'd put little notes, including snack time, you guys. For snack time, I gave him apples and almond butter. And he was not allowed to eat anything outside of that. It's my type A controlling. Y'all got to pray for me. I don't do that anymore, obviously. But
are you telling the story?
I'm telling the story.
Oh, God.
The first year of our marriage. And I remember two stories. I'm going to say the first one real quick. So I'm making all this man's food, y'all. I'm talking busting my tail, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure this man has fresh farm-to-table ingredients, okay? So then all of a sudden, the security guard comes up to me at church on Bible study, and he says, "Heather, that was the best meatloaf I've ever had in my life."
Such a snitch.
And how did your lasagna? How did your lasagna?
Snitches get stitches.
Hold on. How did your lasagna? How is it not greasy? Like, how did you make the meat not greasy? He's asking very specific questions. And if you know my husband, he don't share, y'all. He don't share. So I knew he did not share his food, which means he gave it away. And the older women in the cafeteria convinced him to eat some fried chicken
and fried fish. No, they didn't come. Okay, they did.
Can I finish or can I finish?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
So I look over at my husband. I said, "Are you not eating all of the food I'm making for you?" And he said, he starts stuttering. I said, he's stuttering. And then the security guard comes up and I'm like, "So you like my meatloaf, huh?" And he's laughing. And Cornelius, he just doesn't think it's that funny. But long story short.
No, I don't think it's that funny because he messed up something that was really good. Like, you don't, bro code number 1. You don't talk about what the other bro is doing.
All right. Anyways. So then I stopped making his food. I said, oh, that's what we're doing? I'm only making dinner. You can stuff your mouth with unhealthy food as much as you want. And I'll just make dinner, and you can get heart disease and die early. That's just, if that's what you want. Those are your
exact words.
I know. If that's what you want to do what you want to do. And then after maybe a week or two, he came back up to me, "Baby, they raised the prices in the cafeteria on the food." And I was wondering if you could go back to making our food because it's got expensive. That was story number 1. Real quick, story number 2. We're laying in the bed. He thinks I'm sleeping, you guys. And
I remember
I was making all of his oatmeal cream pies and all of his desserts and all of his food from scratch.
This is year 1? This is year 1.
Year 1. It was all vegan, plant-based, no sugar, okay? So making all his snacks, y'all. And he thinks I'm sleeping. And I hear a crinkle, crinkle, crinkle on the side of the bed. I look over at him, pop my head up because it sounded like processed crinkles. And I jump. I said, "Excuse me." Cornelius hits the floor. I jump on top of him. We fall off the bed. And I look underneath the bed, y'all. There's all these empty oatmeal cream pie wrappers, Debbie snacks.
Oh, God.
I look over at him. I was like, "Do you want to die early or not?"
I remember that. I remember also coming home that time, and you were like, "Hey, babe, I'm ready to go to the grocery store." And I was like, "Okay, bet." And you was like, "Hey, can I use your card?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think the key is in there." Because, granted, it's not like yours had gas in it because it really never did.
First of all.
Hey, we just speaking truth. We speaking truth to power. Right. So I was like, "Hey, good. You want to go to the grocery store?" And you were gone for probably about 30 minutes. I'm sitting at home and I'm watching TV. And I'm sitting there and I was like, crap, I hope she doesn't open the trunk. I mean, it's not like I had Playboys back there. I was just like, I know it's in the trunk. And if she opens the trunk, I'm going to be in so much trouble. It wasn't 5 minutes from then, I get a phone call from you. And I'm like, "Hey, babe." And you were like, "Cornelius, what's been going on?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because you don't just give out information. Like, you need to, when you ask a vague question, you need to give a vague answer.
Oh.
So what's going on? I don't know. I don't know how much you know. So I'm going to let you keep asking until you finally tell me what you know, so I don't give you more information what you need. And then you said, "I just opened the trunk and I see bags of Burger King
wrappers." Exactly. And so I said, "What else are you hiding from me in this marriage?
What else are you hiding from me in this marriage? I cannot believe you.
I don't trust you.
I don't trust you.
I cook all your food. When do you have time to eat all this?" So then I realized me being a little crazy and controlling was making him rebellious.
It was making me
And
rebellious.
it made him want to eat more McDonald's, more Burger King, more Chick-fil-A. So I realized if that's what you want to eat, if that's how you want to be, then you know what? I'm not going to try to change you. If that's what you want, then rock out.
Come on. That's
you want to know why? Because you're a grown man.
I'm
Come on, grown man.
Grown man.
And I wonder how many listeners are listening in and they're trying to change their spouse.
And they're miserable. Their marriage is miserable.
And they're frustrated. They're like, he won't go to the gym. He's gaining weight, but I keep going to the gym. Be an example, and maybe it'll rub off onto him.
Or one of the big ones that we always hear, how can I get my husband to read the Bible more? How can I get my wife to pray more? How can I get him to read the devotional more? Why won't they pray with me? It's like, why are you trying to change someone? Like, why? What gives you the authority to assume that you have the right to change this person to be who you want that person to be? It's not right. You don't have that right to do that.
Yeah. I feel like we have to give room in our relationship for your relationship to grow.
Absolutely.
And even before the ring, you can't marry an expectation that person's all of a sudden going to change when they get married.
Absolutely.
And even if we're married, we've been married for almost 10 years. And even now, I'm very cautious in what I bring up to you as far as change, because I believe you can look right back at me and say, well, you still ain't washing the dishes that much, are you, honey? There's things.
I would never say that.
I know you wouldn't, but you probably would think it. You know what I'm saying? You would probably think it. But then we could both go back and forth in areas that we need to work on.
Absolutely.
But
there's growth in every area.
It is. But what I've learned is, how can I make it better in my marriage? How can I eliminate some stresses? And something that I've learned is to staff our weaknesses.
Yeah.
I'm not good at washing dishes that much. I hate washing dishes.
Absolutely.
So I put it as a requirement of our nanny that she washes the dishes.
Yeah. But you know what? I feel like that's what wise people do. I mean, Proverbs 31 woman.
Come on.
She staffed her weaknesses. She was an entrepreneur. She understood what she had to do. She had handmaidens. She had servants. You know, she did. She woke up early, but she also went to bed late. But she didn't do it by herself. She had help. And a wise husband, a wise father understands that if he's gonna operate in wisdom in his household, he has to learn how to staff those weaknesses inside of his house. Yeah. So, you know, I believe I live by the 80-20 rule. I believe that, you know, I look at my 20% of my strengths. I can handle those things.
Yeah.
The things that I do well, I can handle those things. The bottom 80%, I'm gonna let somebody else do that. I don't get any joy out of mowing the grass. Some men love doing that. Hey, congrats to you. I get no joy out of it. I think it's just pure responsibility. I don't want to be outside. I don't want to be with the grass. I don't care anything about it. So you know what? I will gladly hire somebody else to do it, because I believe that my time is more important than my money. And that's just how I live.
That's real.
But you know, your marriage may not be that way. But I think at the end of this, we all have to realize one thing, that you cannot change your spouse, and trying to change your spouse and making them into somebody else is going to ultimately it's going to ruin your marriage. It's going to ruin your marriage, and you're going to be completely miserable.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. So now I want to take some questions. So every week we have a Q&A where you ask the Lindseys on our Instagram. My husband's Instagram is This Is Cornelius, and mine is Heather L. Love. And so we want to take some of those questions in just a moment.
Hey guys, so we are back, and we're going to take some of your great questions, man. This should be good. So we're talking marriage, being disappointed in marriage, differences in marriage, trying to change your spouse. It's just things about marriage. So we're going to jump into some of your questions. If you have not already, make sure you follow us. I am This Is Cornelius on Instagram. My wife is Heather L. Love. So This Is Cornelius and Heather L. Love. The first question that we have.
Do you want to take that one? Or should we swipe?
The first question that we have here says, my husband said he doesn't mean to cheat. He doesn't know what's wrong with him. He is a good man. But it's not a question.
Well, she's just saying, like, he can't control his penis. That's what it sounds like.
Well, I don't know if saying he can't control his penis. I mean,
well, obviously he can't if he's sleeping around.
Well, I mean, but granted, this is a question. It's a Q&A. She didn't really ask a question, and she basically ended the end of her short statement with a very powerful statement saying that he's a good man. So obviously, she has come to a conclusion on who the man is.
But my issue is, if you keep cheating in our marriage, that you've already abandoned the marriage. Is that true or false? He says he doesn't know what's wrong with him, which means we don't have a solution to the problem, which means you're going to continue to cheat.
Well, here's the thing. If he doesn't know what's wrong with him, then it's probably safe to assume he probably should just seek some help. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to assume that there's more to this than what we possibly know. Because it's not necessarily a question. It's like, this is what it is. So I don't want to assume. He should probably just seek some help, and that's probably what she should just encourage him to do. Just seek some help in some areas so that he can figure out what the problem is and then come up with a resolution. But at the end of it, she believes he's a good man. Let's go to the next question.
Girl, what are some tips? What are some tips to having a long-lasting and fulfilling marriage?
I believe it was what we said earlier. It's the grace, mercy, and unconditional love.
And a lot of sex.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't think so?
No, I'm it's not saying I don't think so. It's just that I think to make it simple for people, if it's grace, mercy, and unconditional love, then that's what sustains it. And while sex is a benefit towards marriage, there's some people in marriage who, unfortunately, because of physical defects, something like that, they don't get a chance to have sex. So I think to throw that in there may be.
Yeah.
But I mean, sex is a very fun part of it.
We have another sex question.
Hey, throw it out there.
Sex with my hubby is not good and it's very short. I don't look forward to it. How do I tell him?
Woo, Jesus.
I think you have to answer that because
Okay, so rule number 1, you do not tell him that. Like, I don't care what kind of man he is. I don't care how strong you think he is. It's like a couple areas on a man that he wants to feel very confident about, and a couple areas for a man that he wants to feel very, very confident about. And one of those areas is sex. He wants to feel very comfortable with that. I think that, that it's a conversation that definitely needs to be had. Maybe he's having like erectile issues, and there are certain centers that he can go to, certain med spas he can go to be able to get that remedied. He can, figure out what his testosterone level, his testosterone levels are, his estrogen levels are, to figure out why it is short and why it's not good. I also think that communication during sex is extremely important. Being able to tell each other, okay, I like this, I don't like this, instead of assuming that, something is just, this is the sex you've always had. Like, if you prefer to be on your back rather than on your knees, then you say, I prefer to be on my back rather than on my knees. If you prefer it looking at each other, then you need to say that. You need to be open and you need to say that so that you can make sex enjoyable for the both of you. But this conversation needs to be had. It's just that, I wouldn't recommend just coming out and saying, hey, sex is very short and it's not good. You need to be able to communicate, what does good mean to you? Does good mean it's because it's long? Does good mean because, it's just certain spots? Does good mean that I'm actually reaching a climax? Are you helping me reach a climax? Those are very good things. But she needs to identify what good is to her, and then she needs to be able to explain what good is to him so he can help meet that good.
And I had a friend that her husband really struggled with pornography. And so because he was satisfying himself all the time, when it came to her, he wasn't as interested in sex. And if it did happen, it was very short because he was used to releasing in other ways. So they had to get to the root to that issue as well. So you might, have that conversation and see if that's a conversation too. How do you fight for a marriage that has died already?
You want to answer some of that?
Yeah. So I believe that our marriage had died a few times. Honestly, it's just been one day at a time, and deciding that divorce is not going to be an option for us. I think that's what's helped us. Like, we're not going to divorce. Like, there's too much on the line. We're going to fight for our marriage. We're going to work for it. We're going to keep pressing forward. And I believe in therapy. I think therapy is important. If you'll go to therapy, and if he won't go, you go to therapy, work on yourself. How can you work to be a better wife and be a woman that God has called you to be? But just keep on feeding your marriage. I've learned that whatever you feed is going to live, and whatever you starve is going to die. So just make sure you're feeding your marriage. You're building up your spouse. You're encouraging them. You're just doing something different. Sometimes we have those generational curses from our parents. Maybe you saw your mom cuss your dad out, and maybe you find yourself doing that. Or maybe you picked up some attributes from your parents. So just saying, I break every generational curse that's over my family right now in the name of Jesus. And we're going to do something different, and we're going to write our story differently.
Anything that has been dead can always be revived.
Yeah.
And as long as there's hope there and there's work that's being put by both parties, it can definitely be revived. You gotta have the faith that believes that this thing can be revived. And as a pastor, I've seen enough marriages where these married couples have been able to endure, and they've lasted. Yeah. And they have been dead. I mean, living separately, not wanting to talk to each other, hated seeing each other. Yeah. And we've hosted a marriage retreat now. Let's be 6 years. Yeah. This year we hosted our marriage retreat in Bali. Next year we're going to Morocco. And one of the things is every year we have at least one or two married couples who they're there because they are ready to get a divorce. And thankfully they don't get that divorce. Yeah. So that's been really, really good. But they had to believe they could do something. And this one of the practical keys that I will give towards that. During our marriage retreats, one of the things that I noticed, one of the reasons why I see the couples coming back together is because they realize why they got married in the first place. Yeah. So many times in life, you get so busy, you get so frustrated, everything is happening and you become disconnected. Yeah. You have kids, you're trying to move up in your career. He's going one way for 8 hours, she's going another way for 8 hours. You just don't have time to connect. On weekends, you're so tired, you're so exhausted that you don't really have time to do anything else. But when you finally find that time to connect and then continuously make time to reconnect, then that usually sparks the fire because you remember why you got married in the first place. Yeah, that's good. And if anybody wants to join us in Morocco 2020, you can go to bravebyfaithtravel.bushfire.com and click on the Morocco retreat, or you can just go to our Instagram and you click on the link in our bio. But we'd love to have you. Do you have another question? I have one if you don't. Yeah, I have one more question. It says, this is pretty cool. So this one says, what do you say to those who don't desire marriage? It says not many people preach on this. So those people who say, I don't really want to be married. And I love what you guys are saying about marriage, but I don't really want to be married. What do you say about those? Well, some people have the gift of singleness. Paul had the gift of singleness. And I know other people, my uncle has the gift of singleness. He literally says he's given his life to Jesus. He knows how many languages, like 15 different languages. He travels all over. Guy. He travels all over. And this is my adoptive family, or this is my birth family. And we'll get into that in another episode because I am adopted. But he travels all over and he speaks to different places in different languages. And he said he's given a vow of celibacy. He believes he's called to just be totally single and committed to the Lord. And that's okay. You don't have to have that desire, for marriage. But he doesn't want to have sex, nothing. He just wants to serve the Lord. That's a special man. So special, right? I didn't get the gift. No, I didn't get the gift either. I got the gift of hope. But I'm just like... Wait, the gift of what? It's like, so... Did you say the gift of hoe? Did you say the gift of hoe? H-O-E? Yeah, I did. The gift of hope. What is that? Is that not a gift? That's not a gift from the Lord. I didn't say it was a gift from the Lord. I didn't say he gave it to me. I just said I got the gift. So whoever gave it, they gave it. But I will go on record as saying this. If you have a desire to say I don't want to be married, don't think that something's wrong with you. Yeah. Here's the thing. Marriage is not the graduation from being single. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I'm married, I'm single now. When I graduate from this journey, I'm going to be married. Our desire and prayerfully, what your faith is, prayerfully, you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. Our desire, no matter what we are, whether we're single or we're married, our desire is to be more Christ-like. So with that being said, you want to make sure that you're not thinking that the next stage of my life has to be marriage. If that is your next goal, then you're going to be sorely disappointed because marriage is not going to fix you. Marriage is not going to be this new thing that's going to make you into this completely different person. Marriage is just another stage of life that you learn to enjoy. And I actually want to talk to our singles more in the next episode that we have. But let's take another question. Me and my hubby are expecting our first child. We seem to be under added stress. Child. Any tips? Oh, yeah, baby. Welcome to the club. Yeah. You're going to be hazed for the rest of your life in the most beautiful, special, obsessive way. But, people used to always say to us, The years are short, but the days are long.
Yeah.
And I look up now and I look at Logan, I look at our firstborn, and he's 6 years old now, and I look at how he talks and I look at how he acts, and I'm just like, man, I remember when we brought him home from the hospital?
Oh yeah.
Because at first, like when they were letting us go, I'm like, is this even legal? Like how do you know we know how to keep this kid alive? And remember we took him home, we put him in that swing, and we just put him in there. He just kind of sat there. He wasn't screaming. He was asleep. And I remember we stood there. We were just staring at him. And I looked at you and I said, now, what are we supposed to do with him? Like, literally, what am I supposed to do with this kid? You didn't give me a pamphlet. You didn't give me a manual. You just assumed that I know how to keep this kid alive. Right. And you know what? Every year for his birthday, I'm thanking God that we have kept this kid alive for another year. Because you don't know. God. But they change your entire life. They change your entire being.
And the thing is, you begin to realize how selfish you are when children come into your life.
Oh my gosh. I thought I was selfish when I was married.
It's a different level because you're giving of yourself in a way you guys have never given of yourself. So the first child was quite stressful for my husband and I, because not only are you not sleeping, you're trying to figure out how to parent. You have different parenting styles. So it's really just taking things one day at a time and recognizing that the enemy hates family and he's going to seek to destroy your family and bring confusion into your family. So for me, it was guarding my heart, even when I was pregnant, against stress and drama and worry and all those different things. So I think we're going to take one more question. Okay. The question is the opinion on adultery that happened 6 years ago, but the spouse barely told the truth now.
You want to go something?
You can go first.
I feel like, even if you knew all the details, what is that going to help you with?
I think it's going to help her heal because some women want details.
And you know what? It could help her heal, then it could also make it even worse.
Yeah.
Like, at some point you have to make up your mind to say, am I going to forgive or am I not?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't think details are going to help you to make that decision or to make that situation any better.
I think women want to understand so we can fix the spouse so he won't do it again.
Okay, we just had a whole conversation on how you can't fix the spouse. That can't happen.
Right.
That can't happen. Like, at some point she has to make a decision to say, I don't need as many details as what I think I do. Like at some point she has to stop being Inspector Gadget and just say, okay, it happened. I forgive you. It's been 6 years. I'm moving on. Instead of spending the last 6 years trying to figure out, whatever she's trying to figure out in the marriage. I think she's just adding more stress to an already stressful situation.
But I think what I don't like in these situations is we're like, women, you need to, or in this case, this woman, you got to deal with it. You got to decide to trust him. But she's like, I'm hurt. I'm broken. I've had a hard time trusting men my whole life. And now I got to deal with this. What does he have to do to change? Why is it that I always have to change?
But see, I hear that. But at the same time, it's like, we don't know what he's had to do to change. We don't know what that looks like. And while the change in women seems to be more vocal, the change for men is a little bit more silent.
Yeah.
Our change is almost like from the caterpillar to the cocoon to the butterfly. Yeah. It takes us time. But in the cocoon, you don't really see the change. Yeah. There's a change that's taking place. But since ours is not as vocal as a woman's change is, then you assume that we're not changing. Yeah. There could have been some real change that happened in his life over the last 6 years. Yeah. But maybe the change didn't happen. Maybe that process didn't happen the way that she thought that it should. I think that at some point, the two of them have to get together and have to say, look, I know you want details. I know you want all this, but we got to make a decision. Will our next 6 years be better than our last 6 years? Yeah. And if that's the case, then we start fresh. We have a fresh slate and we move forward. But if we keep going back over this over and over again, this is going to be a problem.
Yeah. I remember one day, and even our marriage, I looked at the mirror and I said, Heather, we're going to have a good marriage. Like you have a part to play in that. So get it together. And get a hobby.
Together.
Get a hobby.
Get a hobby, girl. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I was being more of a cheerleader for you.
Mind you, this was our first couple months of marriage, and my hobby was my husband, nothing else. Oh. And so I remember looking in the mirror and like, you're going to have a great marriage, and you're going to not be crazy. Like, Heather, get your life together. Focus on what God wants you to do to change. But I've enjoyed this time talking about marriage, and I hope if you're interested in coming to our marriage retreat that you come on. It's definitely a game changer. It's gonna be
It is. So we'll be in Morocco. Don't forget Instagram and Twitter. I am This is Cornelius. Facebook, it is Cornelius Lindsey. My wife is Heather Lindsey on Facebook, and then Instagram and Twitter, she is Heather love. So it's going to be absolutely amazing. We are so excited on the next episode to talk about being single. So this is going to be amazing. Grab all your single friends if you're divorced, whatever it may be.
But
or
even
if you're married and you feel single.
Married, right.
You're married and you feel single.
Well, dang.
I mean, some people are married, they still feel single.
But I really want to focus on the root issue of some things we don't deal with as singles and that we carry into us.
Come on. That's what I'm talking about.
Come on.
We're super excited to be able to do that. Thank you so much for tuning in to Life with the Lindseys.
All right. So make sure you guys subscribe. Get your mama, your cousin, everybody. Subscribe, download, tell friends, share it as much as you can. Share it on your social medias. And we love you guys. And make sure you tag us when you do share it.
Yes. Subscribe is love. So if you love us, subscribe. Yes. And tell your mama and them too.
We love you guys in real life.
Yes. Subscribe. Thanks. Bye, y'all.